As women age beyond 60, maintaining bone health becomes increasingly critical. The natural decline in estrogen levels after menopause accelerates bone loss, making women particularly vulnerable to osteoporosis and fractures. However, research consistently demonstrates that strength training can be a powerful intervention to preserve and even improve bone density, while simultaneously enhancing balance, muscle mass, and overall functional independence. Bone is living tissue that constantly remodels itself throughout life. When we place mechanical stress on our bones through resistance exercise, our bodies respond by laying down new bone tissue, making bones denser and stronger. This process, known as bone remodeling, is particularly responsive to weight-bearing and resistance exercises that challenge the skeletal system. For women over 60, engaging in targeted strength training exercises can significantly reduce the risk of osteoporosis, minimize fall risk, and maintain the quality of life needed to remain independent and active. Understanding the bone strength connection. Before diving into specific exercises, it's important to understand why strength training is so effective for bone health. Our bones respond to stress according to Wolff's Law, which states that bone adapts to the loads placed upon it. When muscles contract forcefully against resistance, they pull on the bones to which they're attached. This mechanical tension stimulates bone-forming cells called osteoblasts to create new bone tissue. For postmenopausal women, this process becomes even more crucial. Estrogen plays a protective role in bone metabolism, and its decline after menopause tips the balance toward bone resorption rather than formation. Strength training helps counteract this by providing the mechanical stimulus needed to encourage bone formation, effectively serving as a non-pharmaceutical intervention for maintaining skeletal health. The 6 essential exercises. 1. Squats, bodyweight, or weighted. The squat stands as one of the most fundamental and effective exercises for bone health in the lower body. This compound movement targets multiple bone sites simultaneously, including the femur, thigh bone, tibia, shin bone, and the bones of the spine and pelvis. These are precisely the areas most vulnerable to osteoporotic fractures in older women. Why squats matter for bones. The squat creates axial loading on the spine and significant stress on the hip and leg bones. Studies have shown that exercises involving this type of loading pattern are particularly effective at stimulating bone formation in the hip and spine, 2 critical sites for fracture prevention. How to perform. Stand with feet shoulder-width apart, toes pointing slightly outward, keeping your chest lifted and core engaged. Bend at the hips and knees as if sitting back into a chair. Lower yourself as far as comfortable while maintaining proper form, ideally until thighs are parallel to the ground. Drive through your heels to return to standing, squeezing your glutes at the top. Progressions and modifications. Begin with partial squats or chair squats, where you lower yourself to a chair and stand back up. As strength improves, progress to full bodyweight squats. Then add resistance through dumbbells held at your sides or a weighted vest. Wall squats can also provide support for those still building confidence and strength. Key considerations. Maintain neutral spine alignment throughout the movement, avoiding excessive forward lean. Keep knees tracking over toes rather than caving inward. If you have knee concerns, limiting the depth of the squat and ensuring proper form is essential. Aim for 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, adjusting the difficulty level to maintain proper form throughout. 2. Deadlifts, Romanian or conventional. The deadlift is perhaps the most comprehensive bone-loading exercise available, engaging nearly every bone in the body from feet to skull. This exercise teaches proper hip hinge mechanics while building tremendous strength in the posterior chain, the muscles and bones along the back of the body. Why deadlifts matter for bones. Deadlifts create substantial compression forces on the spine and long bones of the legs, while also engaging the bones of the arms, shoulders, and pelvis. The ground reaction forces and the weight being lifted combine to provide one of the most potent stimuli for bone formation available through exercise. How to perform. Stand with feet hip-width apart, holding dumbbells or a barbell in front of your thighs. With a slight bend in the knees, hinge forward at the hips, pushing your buttocks backward while lowering the weights along your legs. Keep your back straight and chest proud, feeling a stretch in your hamstrings. Once the weights reach mid-shin or you feel a good hamstring stretch, drive your hips forward to return to standing. Progressions and modifications. Start with very light weights or even just the movement pattern with no weight to master the hip hinge. Romanian deadlifts, where the weight doesn't touch the ground, are often more appropriate for beginners as they're easier to control. Single-leg Romanian deadlifts add a balance challenge once proficiency is achieved. Use dumbbells for more freedom of movement or a trap bar for a more comfortable spine angle. Key considerations. The deadlift requires careful attention to form to protect the spine. Keep the weight close to your body throughout the movement. Maintain a neutral spine without rounding, and engage your core muscles throughout. Never sacrifice form for heavier weight. Begin conservatively with 2 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions, focusing on feeling the correct muscles working before adding significant resistance. 3. Overhead press. The overhead press is crucial for maintaining bone density in the upper body, particularly in the arms, shoulders, and upper spine. These areas often receive less attention in bone health discussions, but are important for maintaining functional independence and preventing fractures from falls that involve catching yourself with outstretched arms. Why overhead presses matter for bones. This exercise loads the bones of the arms, humerus, radius, and ulna, shoulders, scapula, and clavicle, and spine through both the weight being lifted and the stabilization required to press overhead. The thoracic spine particularly benefits from the extension component of this movement. How to perform. Stand or sit with feet shoulder-width apart for stability. Hold dumbbells at shoulder height with palms facing forward and elbows bent at approximately 90 degrees. Press the weights straight overhead until arms are fully extended but not locked out. Lower with control back to the starting position. Progressions and modifications. Begin seated for better stability and lower back support. Use light resistance bands if dumbbells feel too challenging initially. Progress to standing presses as core stability improves, which adds an additional bone-loading component through the need to stabilize the entire body. Single arm presses can address imbalances and further challenge stability. Key considerations. Avoid arching the lower back excessively by engaging the core and glutes throughout the movement. Keep your ribs down and avoid jutting the head forward. If shoulder mobility is limited, work within a pain-free range of motion and consider consulting with a physical therapist. Perform 2-3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions with a weight that challenges you while maintaining excellent form. Step-ups. Step-ups are an excellent functional exercise that mimics everyday activities like climbing stairs while providing significant bone-loading benefits for the entire lower body. This unilateral, single-leg exercise also improves balance and coordination, which are crucial for fall prevention. Why step-ups matter for bones. Each repetition creates ground reaction forces through the working leg, loading the bones of the foot, ankle, shin, thigh, and hip. The vertical component of the movement provides axial loading to the spine. Additionally, the single-leg nature of the exercise creates greater force through the working leg compared to bilateral exercises. How to perform. Stand facing a sturdy box, bench, or step, approximately knee height or lower. Place one foot entirely on the step, ensuring your whole foot is in contact with the surface. Drive through this foot to lift your body up onto the step, bringing the other foot to meet it. Step back down with control, leading with the same foot. Complete all repetitions on one side before switching. Progressions and modifications. Begin with a low step of just 4 to 6 inches and progress height as strength improves. Hold on to a railing for balance initially if needed, gradually reducing support. Add dumbbells held at your sides for increased resistance. Lateral step-ups and decline, step-downs, add variety and challenge different movement patterns. Key considerations. Focus on using the leg that's on the step to do all the work rather than pushing off with the ground leg. Keep your knee tracking over your toes without caving inward. Maintain an upright torso throughout. Control the descent rather than dropping down. Aim for 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions per leg, adjusting step height to ensure you can maintain good form throughout. 5. Chest press, dumbbell, or machine. The chest press provides essential bone-loading stimulus for the arms, shoulders, and chest, while also engaging the upper spine for stabilization. Maintaining upper body strength is particularly important for women over 60 for performing daily activities and protecting against fall-related injuries. Why chest presses matter for bones. This pressing movement loads the bones of the arms and shoulders while requiring the ribs and upper spine to stabilize against resistance. The horizontal pressing pattern complements the vertical pattern of overhead presses, ensuring comprehensive upper body bone stimulation. How to perform. Lie on a bench or stability ball with dumbbells held above your chest, arms extended. Lower the weights with control until elbows are at approximately 90 degrees, or your upper arms are parallel to the floor. Press the weights back up until arms are extended, bringing the dumbbells together at the top. Progressions and modifications. Begin with light dumbbells on a stable bench. Machine chest presses offer excellent support for beginners. Progress to a stability ball for additional core engagement. Floor presses, lying on the floor, limit the range of motion, which can be helpful for those with shoulder concerns. Push-ups against a wall or elevated surface provide a bodyweight alternative. Key considerations. Keep your shoulder blades pulled back and down throughout the movement. Avoid letting shoulders roll forward or shrug toward your ears. Maintain contact between your lower back and the bench using core engagement rather than arching. Breathe out as you press and inhale as you lower. Complete 2 or 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions with appropriate resistance. 6. Bent over rows. Rows are essential for posterior chain development, targeting the muscles and bones of the back, rear shoulders, and arms. This pulling movement balances the pressing exercises and is crucial for maintaining upright posture and spinal bone health. Why rows matter for bones? Bent over rows create loading through the spine, particularly in the thoracic region, while also stimulating bone formation in the arms and shoulders. The postural muscles engaged during this exercise are critical for maintaining the spine alignment necessary to prevent vertebral compression fractures. How to perform. Stand with feet hip-width apart, holding dumbbells. Hinge forward at the hips with a flat back until your torso is at approximately 45 degrees. Let the weights hang straight down from your shoulders. Pull the weights up toward your rib cage, squeezing your shoulder blades together. Lower with control back to the starting position. Progressions and modifications. Begin with single arm rows using a bench for support, which reduces spinal loading while building strength. Seated cable rows provide excellent support and consistent tension. Progress to bent over rows with both arms as core stability improves. Resistance bands offer a joint-friendly alternative with variable resistance. Key considerations: maintain a neutral spine throughout. Avoid rounding your back or hyperextending. Focus on initiating the movement from your shoulder blades rather than just bending your elbows. Keep your neck in line with your spine rather than looking up. Control both the lifting and lowering phases. Perform 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions per side if doing single arm variations, or per set if performing bilateral rows. Implementation. Guidelines for maximum benefit. To maximize the bone-building benefits of these exercises, consistency and progressive overload are essential. Bone responds to novel and progressively increasing loads, so gradually increasing the challenge over time is crucial. Research suggests that performing strength training 2 to 3 times per week is optimal for bone health benefits in postmenopausal women. Allow at least 1 day of rest between strength training sessions, targeting the same muscle groups to permit recovery and adaptation. Begin each session with a proper warm-up, including light cardiovascular activity and dynamic stretching. Cool down with gentle stretching afterward. Always prioritize form over weight. Working with a qualified personal trainer, especially one experienced with older adults, can be invaluable for learning proper technique and creating an individualized program that accounts for any specific health concerns or limitations. Conclusion: these 6 exercises form a comprehensive strength training program specifically designed to target the bones most vulnerable to osteoporosis in women over 60. By consistently performing squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, step-ups, chest presses, and rows, you create the mechanical stress necessary to stimulate bone formation throughout your entire skeleton. Remember that building and maintaining bone density is a long-term commitment. The benefits accrue over months and years of consistent effort, but the investment pays tremendous dividends in maintained independence, reduced fracture risk, and enhanced quality of life. Combined with adequate calcium and vitamin D intake, these exercises represent one of the most powerful tools available for protecting your skeletal health as you age. Always consult with your healthcare provider before beginning any new exercise program, particularly if you have existing health conditions or concerns about osteoporosis.